Grigori Rasputin was born on the 21st of January 1869 and was a Russian faith healer and mystic. In the winter of 1904, he travelled to Saint Petersburg, eventually becoming a prominent figure in Russian society. In November 1905, he met Tsar Nicholas II, the last Emperor of Russia. He became particularly close with Alexandra, the last Queen of Russia. In 1906, he began acting as faith healer to Alexandra and Nicholas's son, Alexei, who had been suffering from hemophilia. Hemophilia is a blood disorder in which the young boy would have had a cut or a graze and bled and bled and bled. This bleeding was unstoppable, to the much worry of his mother Alexandra. Alexei would have been the heir presumptive, being the only male child born by the Russian family. Tsarina Alexandra had called upon Rasputin to heal an internal hemorrhage on their son Alexei. Much of Rasputin's influence with the imperial royal family of Russia stemmed from the belief that he was able to heal the young boy Alexei, having performed faith healing on him several times, and was able to take away his pain and stop internal and external hemorrhages. Rasputin first became aware of the boy's medical troubles as early as 1906, when he was called by Alexandra to heal her son. It is noted that in spring of 1907, Alexei had been experiencing pain and suffering. Rasputin came to pray over the boy, and the next day the boy had miraculously been healed. Queen Alexandra's friend Anna was absolutely convinced that Rasputin had healed the boy. Shortly after that, Anna Baryvova became one of Rasputin's biggest advocates. During the summer of 1912, young Alexei was injured following a carriage jolt, which caused the boy a large hematoma. In severe pain and delirious with fever, the young boy became close to death. Queen Alexandra instructed her friend Anna to send Rasputin a telegram asking him to pray for the boy. Rasputin, who had been in Siberia at the time, Rasputin wrote back very quickly. "God has seen your tears and heard your prayers. Do not grieve," he said. "The little one will not die. Do not allow the doctors to bother him too much," he said. The very next day, the boy's condition remained unchanged. But Alexandra, the queen, remained inspired by Rasputin's words and prayers. This gave her hope and courage that the boy would be okay. Dr. S.P. Fedorov, one of the physicians attending young Alexei, was absolutely stunned the following day whenever the boy began to make a miraculous recovery. The bleeding had stopped. The doctor admitted that the boy's recovery was wholly inexplicable from a medical point of view. Later, Dr. Fedorov said that Alexandra, the queen, could not be blamed for seeing Rasputin as a miracle man. Rasputin would come in, walk up to the patient, spit and pray, and the bleeding stopped instantly. How could the Empress not trust Rasputin after that? Alexandra believed that Rasputin had performed a miracle and concluded that he was essential for Alexei's survival. At that time, little was known about hemophilia, and there certainly was no cure. Young Alexei was not expected to live. Some writers and historians, such as Pharaoh, claimed that Rasputin had used hypnosis to stop the boy's bleeding on several occasions. Rasputin advised all of the royal children. He said to them, "Love the whole of God's nature, the whole of his creation, and in particular this earth." The mother of God was always occupied with flowers and needlework. The nursery governesses were horrified that Rasputin was given permission to visit the royal children. Queen Alexandra refused to believe any wrongdoing by Rasputin, stating that everything he does is holy. Tsar Nicholas, however, ordered Rasputin to leave St. Petersburg for a time, and Rasputin went on a pilgrimage in Palestine. At this time, rumours started circulating that Rasputin had seduced the Grand Duchess of Russia and all the royal princesses. Despite the scandal, Rasputin's relationship continued with the Russian royal family until his murder in 1917. Outside the Russian royal court, Rasputin claimed that physical contact between them purified them. Therefore, he engaged in drunken sexual activities with many Russian prostitutes and members of high society. It should also be noted that during this time, the Russian Empress was seen as a German sitting on the royal throne, and her evil, wicked man, Rasputin. A group of nobles decided that Rasputin's influence over the Tsarina threatened all of Russia. They therefore concocted a plan that in 1916 they would kill Rasputin. There were up to 3 failed assassination attempts, one by poisoning, in which Rasputin was lured to a palace and given poison in his food and remained completely unaffected. They laced tea and cakes with cyanide, which Rasputin ate and was completely unaffected. He was eventually murdered by a gunshot wound. The royal family had planned to build a church over Rasputin's grave. However, his body was then exhumed and burned by a group of soldiers. At the time when Tsar Nicholas sent Rasputin away, it is claimed that Rasputin said, "Do not betray me, my friend, for if you do, your whole family will be dead within 18 months. Tsar Nicholas abdicated the Russian throne in 1917, and the Russian Great Revolution began. The entire Russian royal family were then imprisoned inside a palace. The royal family, who had been arrested by the Bolsheviks, had been moved to a smaller palace in Siberia. In Yekaterinburg, which is at the far end of Russia, the royal family were murdered on the night of the 17th, 1918. The King and Queen of Russia and all of their royal children and entourage were murdered by gunshot wound. The Romanovs had asked for help at this time before their execution, and it is believed that Queen Mary refused to send help. King George, which was Nicholas's cousin, wanted to help, but he was urged by government and Queen Mary not to do so. In 1979, a burial site nearby was discovered, and in 2007, Prince Philip's DNA was used to confirm that this was the Russian royal family. Many people speculate to this day that Rasputin's influence ultimately led to the demise of the Russian royal family. Some believe that he cursed them. To this day, Grigori Rasputin remains in Russian history as one of the most influential people ever in Russia. Often labelled the Mad Monk of Moscow, Rasputin remains in Russian history forever. I asked a Russian lady before that do they see Rasputin as some sort of historical joke or fraud, and her answer to me was, no, they do not. He is serious.